First of all, thank you for coming. So my story begins when I was 9 years old. Um, a lot of things happened. So my mom and my father battled with an addiction. At the age of 9, I had to raise my younger brother and my younger sisters while going to school. I was in 5th grade at the time. By the end of my 5th grade year, CPS was my mom was well known to them. We got taken away and we were placed in an emergency shelter. That's what they called it, in foster care. So you stayed there for 30 days, and after 30 days, they find you a permanent home. 9 and up, it's hard to place you because, you're older. So me and my brother were separated, and my younger sisters were adopted out to their family side because we had different fathers. So they were adopted to their family side. And after the 30 days, they reunited me and my brother, and they placed us in a foster home with our foster parents, Yolanda and Jean, in Hemet. I was scared. You hear a lot of stories that foster parents are mean. They're not going to love you like they love their kids. So when I went in there, and it was the total opposite. They loved you, and I was never I didn't know that was a different kind of love, So, being there, I stayed there for 4 years before the courts finally decided, hey, you told my mom, you need to get it together, or we're going to adopt your children out, So they gave her one more last chance. She finally got it together, and we moved out. It was really hard because, I was exposed to a certain lifestyle before, and I was afraid to go back because, it's not going to be the same. So we went back and we stayed in an apartment until they closed our CPS case, and my mom started using again. We moved into a trailer that her partner at the time, parents had bought us. It was brand new. And I was like, okay, everything's going to be fine, she's going to get it together. Things are going to change. Within 6 months, this trailer was torn apart. She ripped down the walls to make rooms bigger. She took out carpet and never put tile. So she even took out cabinets in the kitchen. So there wasn't always food, but I don't know, somehow I just managed to stay sane, After that, CPS came right back. By this time, I was already 16, and they told her, either you get it together or we're just adopting them out. There's no more chances, So the only option she had was to go to an emergency shelter. And that's when we went to go stay at Martha's Village and Kitchen. So at the time, they had a tent that they housed 500 people, bunk beds. And what separated them was sheets, the families, single women, single men. And they had a program. So those that haven't been to Martha's, it's 2 stories. Downstairs is classrooms and resources. And then upstairs is where people live. It's a program back then. So we went and we stayed in the tent. It was hard. I was already a senior in high school. I felt like all my friends are going to make fun of me, who lives in a shelter, So I would get up early and I would walk to school. And I would make sure that I was up and out of there by 5 so no one knew which direction I came from. I graduated high school while being at Martha's. After graduation, 5 days later, I had turned 18. So I had to transition to the single side. I can no longer stay with my mom. So during this time, she was still not having it together. So I would meet her in the lobby, and we would go have breakfast. So one morning, I went to the lobby, and I asked them to call her because I didn't have a cell phone at that time. And they they told me that they needed to talk to me, and I was like, oh, what did I do now, you know? So they told me that my mom checked out of the program and she didn't leave a forwarding address. So at that time I was like, oh, you know, you're kidding. Like, it's not funny, just call her. And they're like, no, she didn't. So like, I immediately didn't even know what to do. It didn't process. I was crying. I was like, what am I gonna do? I can't buy shampoo and conditioner. I don't have no money. So I called my aunt, and at that time, back in 2009, the economy was going down. So a lot of people were losing their jobs and their homes. My aunt was a drug and alcohol counselor for 9 years, and she worked at the ABC Club. So I called her and I was like, hey, you know, my mom left me. I don't know what to do. She's like, okay, pack your stuff. You're gonna come stay with me. So I went to go stay with her, and over a whole year, I didn't know where my mom was, what she was doing. Like, she didn't reach out to me. I didn't know, you know. So over that year, I was going back to school, but my aunt lost her job, so she had to downgrade. So instead of living in a house, she had to move to a 2-bedroom apartment. And she told me like, hey, you know, there's a lot of people gonna move there. Kind of in a nice way, you know, like, can't move with us. So I was like, oh, it's okay, you know, you've done a lot. I'll go stay with my friends. So I stopped going to school because I couldn't juggle going to school and working and riding the bus at the same time. So I stopped going to school. I was working part-time at Target, and riding the bus to me at the time didn't seem worth it for 12 hours, you know? So I stopped working. Now, during this whole time, I always kept in contact with my foster mom. Like, she was my biggest supporter, you know? She would tell me, like, you could... I'm sorry.
It's okay. Take a breath.
She would tell me that you could do anything, you know? No matter where you come from, never give up, right? So I started applying. My brother had already turned 18 at that time. By this time, I'm already 20. So I'm staying from friend to friend, and my mom just like kicks him out because he's 18. So immediately I'm like, I have to find a place. He has nowhere to go. You know, he can't stay with me and my friends. That's asking too much. So I'm like, okay, I need to start looking for a job because I can't live like this for the rest of my life, you know? Despite what my mom would tell me, like, you know, you're not going to be anything, give it up, don't go to school, you're wasting your time. I started looking for a job, and I got a job at Vaughn's because they would tell me, like, work in the grocery business, that's good for you, there's good benefits. So I started working at Vaughn's. 3 months into working, I got hired and I got promoted to be an assistant manager in the deli. So then I got a studio. Prior to this, I had seen my mom one time when I was going to pick up my last check from Target, and I was at the bus terminal. I don't know how many people know where the bus terminal is in Indio. So it was hot. It's hot in June. So she was in a car, and she just, you know, she's like, oh, hey, how's everything going? I'm like, okay. I was like, why did you leave me, you know, and you haven't called me? And she's like, oh, well, you know, I hope everything's okay, but I gotta go. Didn't even offer me a ride. So that was the time I seen her before. I finally got my place, and my brother went to go live with me. And after a year of working at Vaughn's, I decided I needed to go back to school. So I went to school, and I became a registered dental assistant. And I stopped working after 6 months because my foster mom passed away. And after she passed away, it was hard for me to, you know, deal with that. So I'm sorry. A couple months went by, and I finally applied at Martha's Village and Kitchen, and I got hired as a residential specialist. And a year after working, I got promoted to being an employment specialist. So in the while being an employment specialist, I would be the one to knock on everybody's doors, go and knock on them even though they're sleeping. Like, you got to get up and you got to go down there and look for a job, you know? Like, come on. Sleeping ain't going to solve anything. So they would duck and dodge me, but I would fight them. After a year and a half of being an employment specialist, I got promoted to being a case manager. And I am currently a case manager right now, and I do outreach in our Palm Springs office. So over the course of, I may not know what it's like to sleep in the streets, but I know what it's like to be looked at like, hey, you know, like, you need to get it together. And everybody feeling like somebody's looking at you like you're not a human, you know? Things happen, but at the same time, like I tell every client that I work with, it's your decision at the end of the day, you know? It's up to you to want it, because everybody in this room can help you, but you have to want it in yourself. So, thank you.